for Kauffman Scholars, our first class of students graduated from college, and we found out that having a post-secondary credential was great, but it didn't necessarily put them on the same level as some of their counterparts who came from more affluent districts, maybe had a little bit more work experience. So it was important for us to not only provide opportunities for our students to obtain a degree, but also gain some of those real-world experiences, which is why Startup Scholars was important to us.
We knew that some of our students, it might be their first job. Some of our students might have had internships before. And so we knew that we wanted to be that extra resource rather than them just going out and getting an internship on their own. We wanted it to be a program where every Friday they would then come to us and check in, and we could help, give them professional development or teach them more about entrepreneurship or help them network more in the community.
We later found out that it was also important for startups. Starting off is a very difficult process, as you know, and a lot of them needed help. They needed human capital, but may lack the financial resources. So it was an opportunity for us to achieve both of those goals, help our students, but also help some of the local startups and businesses at the same time. So it was a match made in heaven, essentially.
So we are a post-secondary oriented program. We want to help all of our students get on a pathway to post-secondary success. But we also know that it's not just academics that are important for our students to develop. And so this is the most immersive way that we could come up with, where our students could go in and learn while doing work. And so all the things that they're learning over the summer will help them be successful in college, it will help them be successful in their career, and it will help them be successful in all other aspects of their life.
Startup Scholars provides a unique experience that they wouldn't get anywhere. It's one thing to intern at a big company where you're just sort of mixed in and you're fetching coffee and donuts. It's another to actually be part of what that organization does and part of the creation and delivery of something that matters for this community. It's brought together a population of students with a group of organizations that normally don't mix in this way. Young people are typically seen as consumers or customers, not as producers and contributors. They begin to recognize that, hey, I can contribute, I can learn, I can be the type of professional that I never thought possible. And that's what this program has done.
We have approximately 60 interns that are working at about 40 local businesses in Kansas City. So we have a significant group of startups, which might include software development positions. It might include clothing design, even the food industry. We have lots of social media and marketing and advertising. But then we also have a group of startups and some organizations that have been around for a while in Kansas City that are nonprofits or education-based. We have a couple students at the Ewan Marion Kauffman School, for example, so they're all over the board.
We have scholars who are going to Ivy League schools. We have scholars at high schools around the city who are all bringing different interests and different skills with them. Some are much more tech-focused and want to build websites and know how to code. Others want to get their hands dirty and build things.
I was very eager to learn how to use all the tools. Like the first day that I went in there, I was like, I want to learn how to use everything. And with the studio classes that I'll be taking my 5th year, I feel like it does put me at an advantage because I've gained that experience in using those tools.
Our grandparents had a set of tools in their garage. Everybody had a set of tools in their garage. If they weren't making stuff with it, they were repairing the stuff that they did have. And that has been lost in large part by our generation and the generation before us. High school shops are being decommissioned, middle school shops are being decommissioned. At the same time, we want to help people make stuff, and we want to be a catalyst for people to learn how to make stuff with their hands again. So, Maker Village is basically a community-based woodworking and metalworking shop. We're going to be doing mainly basic wood and metals, but also have electrical production, soldering, laser cutter. People will be able to show up and do workshops, but people will also be able to get memberships and just show up on a Saturday with material and get time to build stuff.
It's always great to have just a few little notes about what you learned, what you thought was interesting, what you struggled with, and that little area.
When we were volunteering at Pages and Chapters when we got started, we were helping a student's mother put a resume together. And she looked at me and she asked if Kansas City was one word or two. And this was on her resume. This was to feed her family of 4. And had I not known before, I certainly knew then exactly what we were doing.
We are a literacy nonprofit, and
if they're not reading on grade level by the time they reach 3rd grade, it creates a lifetime worth of problems. So what Pages and Chapters is working to do is help kids get to the point where they're reading on grade level, and we're doing that through family literacy workshops. So the heart of Pages and Chapters is called Open Books, and it involves a site director going through the 5 components of reading, and the parents work with their kids to do assessments and activities, kind of figure out where is my kid now and how can I get them to where they need to be. And then we send the families home with books. So right now we're partnering with a lot of different schools in the Kansas City area. We're hoping to partner with a lot more, but it's a really exciting time for us. We're kind of figuring out our model and figuring out what works, and we're so thrilled with the results so far.
We basically help people make things. So we do short-run manufacturing, we do design work, we allow people to come in off the street and use things like laser cutters and CNC routers and 3D printers and things like that, and provide access to digital fabrication tools. And we really kind of had a really synergistic partnership with Hammerspace in having a community workshop and kind of partnering with them, so we handle the expensive tools part and they handle the community part, so giving more people access to these kind of tools.
I was intimidated, especially when I went in and it's very, very technical and built to spec and in the Hammerspace. There's projects going on everywhere. It's run by people who've been doing this since they were infants. It's it's insanely intimidating. And so I kind of went in way over my head. I was so in over my head.
This one is brown, black, red.
Making a light blink, I thought, was the most groundbreaking thing I had ever done in my life, only to find out later that that's the equivalent of writing a very, very, very simple Hello World program. Kind of burst my bubble a little bit, but it made me want to do more, it made me want to find out more about it.
Like, there's so much that you need to know or learn or be exposed to be a good programmer. And when you only have like a year or 2 of programming classes in school, there's so much that you don't have any exposure to whatsoever.
So I have 1 semester of programming under my belt, but I enjoyed it, and I figured, an interest is the first step towards passion. And so if I could really learn what computer science was about, what I could do with it, what it was doing in general, like how relevant it was, I could make that interest into something that I could do long term. So.
These are organizations that they've never heard of before, that they may not have known that this line of work even existed at all, and so they're getting exposed to all these new ideas in Kansas City that they're being a part of, and making connections with the people they work with that will hopefully anchor them here in Kansas City.
When students don't see anyone who's successful, who came from the background that they come from, it's hard to believe it when we tell them that. But this program allows them to do it for themselves. So it's not us telling them you can be successful. It's them saying, you know what, this summer I worked for a local startup. And they didn't have anything when I started, and they do now, and it's because of me. And so I hope that at the end of this program, at the end of Kaufman Scholars, our students walk away knowing that they can be successful.
They came in with zero, background with tools, metalworking or woodworking, and the building aspects have been demystified. A lot of the tools have been, the veil's been lifted. It doesn't seem like something they can't do. It's just another thing that they know how to do. It's like riding a bike. And hopefully, Sekou especially is going into architecture. He has a newfound perspective for what goes into construction, the materials, the planning, the management, that side of just kind of general construction and how important that is to building something.
Well, Nick gave me the opportunity to go to an architecture firm. I was like, of course. I mean, that was my first time in an architecture firm. It's weird because amongst like the other architecture students, like we would talk about them, but none of us have ever been inside one, or none of us ever knew what goes on inside of one. Because when you look up the architecture firms, they don't show you what actually goes on in the firms. They just show you the projects that they do. It was really interesting to see all that stuff happening, and then seeing the models. That was really cool.
So this is the student housing.
With architecture, the thing that I want to do is I want to help people by creating a good experience for whatever space that is, whether it be a stadium or a training facility or the headquarters for a specific type of building. Whatever it is or whatever the project is, I just want to create a comfortable experience and a nice environment for whoever will be navigating that space.
A lot of what we saw was our students helping to design a website for a company that may not have had one, or a social media presence. A lot of our startups were not present in social media, and so they would use the student who might be a little more savvy in that technology to get their business up and going on Twitter or Facebook. We had students doing everything from working for a healthcare company, placing activity trackers on students' wrists. We had students who were at a nonprofit in the Kansas and Kansas City, Missouri community who were refurbishing computers to then be used as classrooms for digital literacy, as well as selling to low-income families for a really reasonable price. And we also had an intern at Kansas City Startup Village who was helping with all the different events that they plan for entrepreneurs around Kansas City.
When I think of Bike Walk KC, I think of Linden. They have little bike stations all over the city, and one of the things he talked to us about was being able to go around and take pictures of them, look at all the sponsorships that they have on each one, go to the plaza, able to get out in front and talk and actually start marketing to people. And his supervisor, that's one of the things that she mentioned to us. She said, she has no doubt that he's going to be successful. He'll be a salesman. But she loved the fact that getting out in front of people was not something that he shied away from. He even presented at our celebration, and then we brought the actual bike up in front of the entire crowd. And was one of our more vocal students, to be honest with you, throughout the internship and our Friday sessions, talking about his experiences with them.
So whether it was Bike Walk KC, who was helping people learn about the health benefits of biking, providing people access to bikes, or whether it was an organization like Mind Drive, that young people and adults from the community can build cars and shine light on the great work that's happening in Kansas City. Our organizations via Startup Scholars are all local, all contributed to the fabric of what makes Kansas City cool. Kansas City Startup Village, Play It Health, etc. All of these are local, small, but so vital to what takes place in Kansas City.
This is our 4th Books on the Move, which is super exciting. After today, I think we'll put over 10,000 books into the community via the bus line, so it's really exciting.
I really wanted to see a community impact. That's what I wanted. I went in, searching for kind of what literature means to other people and how to make that impact even more effective.
Tiffany organized a fundraiser event for us at California Pizza Kitchen on the plaza, and not only did we raise money from that, that's kind of what we were expecting, was, this will be a great way to bring in some more money. We got so many people interested in volunteering through that. I just kept getting emails from people saying, I was at California Pizza Kitchen, I heard about you, what do you guys do, how can I help? And that was so awesome.
I've always been a really talkative, kind of open person, but I've never just outright asked anybody for anything. The more and more I did it, the easier it became, but I'm sure the first place I went into, I believe it was Andre's. It was rough. I was sweating and I was so nervous, and I was like, here's our flyer, and So it was a really good learning experience.
Honestly, the book drive that she just did and getting almost 3,000 books was done almost entirely with her and Joseph, our interns. And those will go directly to the people of Kansas City on the bus lines and to the people who participate in open books. Those books will make a difference, and that's all because of Tiffany and Joseph and their work together.
These are the kind of people that you want to aim to be like, because they have really overachieved in the classroom.
So we got to sit down with the supervisors and hear them say things like, I would not have survived without my intern this past week. Our business would not have accomplished what we accomplished this summer had it not been for the students that we had through Startup Scholars. We heard a lot of supervisors say we're a one-man show or a two-man show, or we only hire our family. What this has taught us is what it's like to work with a part-time employee, and some of the processes that we never had in place that we need to now develop so that we can continue to expand and grow. So it was a learning experience for everyone all around.
I've never had interns before, so it really kind of helped me understand how to, manage and motivate interns, and it's going to be different for every individual, but just kind of figuring out the basic stuff, what to expect from them in terms of output, and basically how to manage time well with them, make a good balance between doing a lot of instruction and input and giving them time to actually go out, do their thing, do their research, and come back with something interesting.
I think we learn more from the challenges than the successes, and our interns kind of learn that too. What attracts people to certain events? What if no one comes? What if a ton of people come? Those are learning experiences for everyone, and we've grown because of it, so it's been exciting.
It's one thing to say, yeah, we have an intern, they did A, B, and C. It's another to say, we want this intern back. We're going to be sad when they leave. They brought us so many different ideas that we hadn't really thought of, a new perspective, new angles on some of the work that we do, and we're bummed that this program's going to be over.
Something else that was a major surprise for us was the amount of our students who got offered employment beyond this internship. So we were the employers of these interns. Technically the summer we paid them, but then once the 8 weeks were over, we started to hear conversations about, well, even when our student goes back to college or back to high school, we want to keep them on in some capacity and to continue to pay them as an employee of ours. We had several cases where that happened.
This morning we're going to start off. We have
So every Friday the interns came together and we talked about our internships. We learned about professional development, so how to do social media and make that like kind of a big aspect of your professional presence.
We kind of just expanded our network, and we worked on our professional profile and stuff like that, and it was really helpful for me. I worked on a blog, and I think my favorite one was from Kim Wallace. She's actually from Kaufman. I started to think about what I want my personal brand to be, and I really think that I can kind of combine activism and love of literacy, and that really goes well together. So I started to tweet out quotes about women's rights and and stuff like that. So it was really fun.
I think our students think that there's just being a doctor, being a lawyer, being a receptionist, and that's kind of what they know just going through watching TV and going through school, but hearing about all the cool different things that are career opportunities for them, that they might be able to develop their skills and they might have a niche for, was a learning experience for them this summer. And then I think that from the supervisor standpoint, I think that they learned that youth have a lot to offer their business in a lot of different ways. And I think that's why working with small businesses and startups was also great for us for this program, because there just wasn't as rigid a plan for the interns. There wasn't a program already designed for interns, and this week they do this. It was, okay, let me get to know this student a little bit more and let me help develop this student in a way that's best for them, but also works well for my company.
They identified professional headshots is something that they have not had, but something that they want. And so we were able to bring someone in to do that. What's cool is that now they'll be able to use these headshots for the social media to kind of tie it all together. So they'll be able to use it on LinkedIn. They'll be able to include it in their Twitter handle so that when they're connecting with professionals, they look professional themselves.
With our students, a lot of them were able to go in and say either, hey, I really like, doing this. I like accounting, or I like finance, or whatever the case may be, and I want to continue that. And so now it makes sense when they're going to school that they understand why they're doing certain things. I think this internship allows students to do that. It either confirms what you thought you wanted to do, or it allows you the time to say, hey, I thought I wanted to do this, but I did it for 8 weeks, and it's not what I want to do. So they're able to course correct early on.
I was really, really excited about the opportunity to get my feet wet. I just changed my possible major to computer science. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and so it was really, really beneficial. No matter how much I thought I knew about one topic, there was always a level deeper I could go. I feel like computer science is such a big field. I have no clue how I'm gonna be able to catch up to it, but this internship, if nothing else, has kind of taught me that it's possible, that there's no need to really know everything in it, but to find something that I want to do and learn as much about that as I can.
We've got the 75-25 mix.
The interns are all learning tools that they'll be able to use the rest of their life, whether it's in their professional life or just, the ability to have a DeWalt hand tool set and be like, I know how to make something or repair something on the weekend or when I want to make a project. They're empowered. They can make stuff. They know they can. They're taking something they made here, several things that they made here. They're going to take it with them. It's going to be in their dorm room, and they're going to see that every day. And hopefully, that reminds them that, hey, I can make stuff.
We wrapped up with the celebration in the same spot that we started. And so we brought all of those same supervisors, the same startups and businesses together, this time with our interns though. And we allowed 6 of them an opportunity to get up and share their experiences with the rest. Wonderful experience to hear directly from our students and their supervisor's voice on the impact that this particular program had on them. It was exciting for everyone else to hear as well. And so just some of the early feedback that I got from our colleagues who were there is they didn't realize how big this internship was. They didn't realize the impact. They didn't realize the magnitude until that night. So it was really awesome to see.
This program being the first year that we had it, we weren't sure what the results would be, what the outcomes would be, how successful it would be. Since it has proven to be one of the most successful endeavors I've ever been a part of, we hope to continue this program into the future. We want more interns. We want more local businesses here in Kansas City. We want our students to have a pipeline to contribute to their community and also gain this learning experience starting at the high school level, moving into college, and then hopefully continuing to come back and work in the Kansas City startup environment or even just local businesses or nonprofits.
With Startup Scholars, we want to capitalize on that momentum to continue growing what has been a great experience for all.
Scholars!